In this section of the workshop, let's dig a little bit deeper, do a little bit of a deeper dive. Let's bring in an MXD from ArcMap. I'm going to point to it on my device. It's as simple as pointing to your MXD, your ArcMap map document, and bringing it into Pro. Then, of course, you could save it, and what it becomes in Pro is an APRX, an ArcGIS Pro project. I can look at the properties for the data that I'm bringing in. In this case, it's going to be some precipitation, some crop data, some cities data. I can look at the extent and look at the spatial reference as I'm doing here and see that it's in North America, Lambert conformal conic, which makes sense because I've got that curved US-Canada border. Notice I've got graphs that I've created over an ArcMap that have come over. I've got any layouts and things like that. So they all come over. My charts, my everything inside ArcMap come over with very few exceptions. You might have to do a little bit of tinkering on some of the symbology, but really not much. So now I've got the data inside ArcGIS Online, and I've got additional capabilities that I did not have in ArcMap. I also have the ability to do labeling and other things that you're used to doing inside ArcMap, inside ArcGIS Pro. If I go to labeling properties, for example, just as an example of what you can do inside ArcGIS Pro, there's my range in my precipitation values, and I can add an expression in there if I want to. I can change the symbology of those labels and so on. Now I've got the range precipitation value. It's important to know the units. In this case, it's inches, annual inches of precipitation. So I can change the symbology. I'm going to make it blue and going to apply that here. Okay, so now I've got some labels on my features. I can change the labeling properties. I've got a lot of capability. I'm going to say the precipitation is, and then give a little expression there. I don't like that so much. I'm probably not going to leave that there, but just as an example of what you can do with these expressions inside ArcGIS Pro. Remove all duplicates. Let's do that so that's a little cleaner looking, especially where there's a lot of variation in the precipitation. So now I've got these things. I can position them in various ways if I wanted to do that as well. So, okay, I've got a couple of layers here. I've got a chart. I've got some tables. I can create new charts if I wanted to. Like I can create a bar chart, and there's my range. Oh gosh, and I've got some different polygons, and I can get some sense of the data. I can click and unclick if I want standard deviation and other things to show. So quite intuitive here inside the ArcGIS Pro environment. A lot of power at your fingertips and a lot of tools. Don't use tools if they are not useful, right? Only add these tools and data sets if you want to add value to your analysis. Turning on and turning off layers, as I'm doing on the left side here, is just like what you're used to in ArcMap or any other GIS. You've got layers. You can list by selection. You can list by the drawing order, list by editing, as I'm doing here at the top of the table of contents here, list by labeling, and so on. Okay? So the left side, you've got your table of contents, and all these menus and panes are dockable. If you don't want the position to be where I have them as the default, you can change them. I'm going to change the symbology. So again, kind of basic stuff inside of ArcGIS Pro, but dot density instead of a choropleth map. Let's do that just as an illustration of how intuitive Pro is. I've got a dot size at my fingertips. Okay, that makes sense. What's the value of each one of those dots? Where do I want them positioned? And so on. So now I've also got a visualization range, or where do I want to see these dots in this dot density map? At what scale do I want these, and what variable do I want to actually represent as dots? So here I've got, acres of cropland, so I can see right away the sandhills of Nebraska, the Ozarks standing out as less heavily cultivated than in the middle of Iowa or eastern Kansas and Nebraska, eastern South Dakota, Minnesota, etc. If I change the dot size and dot value, I've got a different representation of that particular phenomenon. I could also, of course, change the symbology. Let's go ahead and make a bivariate map. I love these. These show you some interesting things. I've got farm size and also crops sold of the value per acre. Interesting. So seeing the pattern here and picking out relationships. That's what GIS is all about, right, folks? Is understanding our world through looking at different layers. And sometimes these relationship maps, and notice I can change it from a 3x3 to a 2x2, and notice that I can change the method. Quantile is what I've got right now. So your inputs affect your outputs. So be thoughtful, understand what these tools do, but use them. explore them, analyze data over space and time with your GIS. That's what it's all about here. So I can also, as I'm illustrating here, make a new project. I can share this information now that I've analyzed it as a web map, as web layers, and so on. So taking a look at the interface, I can package this map document or this ArcGIS Pro package up and send it to somebody else who has ArcGIS Pro, and they could load the project along with all the data that's inside there and do some further analysis themselves. So that was a bit of a foray into symbology, looking at how to bring in a map document from ArcMap into ArcGIS Pro and a little bit of symbology there as well. Thanks for being with